Good Sunday morning to you. I got another day where it's not too hot and an opportunity to kind of deal with this whole corner of the landscape. And I've been thinking about things, how to deal with some of what's here. For one, I've got this agave that's not looking the greatest, but I think I can reuse it. I did give my brother and his family some of the plants last night. And so, yeah, I've done some research to try and figure out kind of what should go where and see if that really has anything to do with my planning, and turns out I think it does. For one, the snake plant. A lot of this snake plant here is looking very yellow versus the snake plant up against the wall there. And even the snake plant over in that clump over there looks a little bit better, although it's slightly yellow. And I think what's going on, when I looked it up, turns out the snake plant wants to be reasonably dry. I guess it's more of a succulent, if you will. So it doesn't want to be wet for too long. If anything, it gets, a good dose of water infrequently. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to pull up more of the snake plant that's over there just to thin it out, and then I'm going to plant it up along the wall, mainly because these sprinklers, when they go off, are pushing water out towards the wall, and they're not going to get as much water at the wall as they will up close. So I think that kind of makes sense. Bird of Paradise is sort of medium on its water, so actually being behind the rock there will probably be really good for it. It'll get a little bit from that sprinkler head there. It'll probably get a little bit from this one, just kind of what makes it up over the rock and back down the little hill into it. This one, by the way, looks like it was actually two of them. So I think I'm going to try and pull this back up and see if I can divide it further, because it looks like there's a whole section leaning over to the left there. That means I got one more Bird of Paradise to figure out where to put on top of this huge clump here. So I think I'm going to pull this up and figure out how to divide it. And I think the remaining pieces that don't go into the landscape on this section will go over in the cul-de-sac in a spot in the corner where they won't get too much water, but they will get some water. We'll figure that out. It's just a temporary location until I figure out what to do with the extra Bird of Paradise. These are probably not cheap plants, but they've multiplied and they're kind of hurting themselves, I think. Maybe in a jungle atmosphere or wherever they grow native, maybe clumping up like this is totally normal and fine, but I've got to kind of deal with what we've got here. So I think this is going to come up. I'm going to clear this area, and then I'm going to figure out how to replant this area, probably with some of the snake plant. So I think that's where I'm going to start, is just kind of in this corner and start working my way over. time to give myself and the camera a break, but yeah, it's a little better framing. You can kind of see the line. If I get there, right there. So I wanted to keep things away from the line because I was talking to another neighbor that I walk with regularly, and he said, oh, you know, they're probably going to build like a retaining wall to kind of, not so much for the dirt like up that way or even right here, but to just put some protection around this transformer. So they're probably going to take out some of the bricks right here. Yeah, we'll see what they do, but basically I wanted to keep back by, you know, 1.5 feet, 2 feet, somewhere in there. And if all of that stuff back there ends up getting abandoned in terms of irrigation, then all of that stuff is basically plants that can cope with the lack of water. And so we'll still have something growing, something green there, even if we're only relying on rain, or if it really gets bad, I suppose every once in a while we can drag a hose out and give it a little water. But that's kind of the plan. And then probably a little bit more behind, you can see there's another line right there. So yeah, just put the dry stuff back behind it so I don't have to worry so much about it. It'll only be visible from certain angles, so really don't need to have much. I think I'm just going to continue the snake plant back there and then leave it. And then the next sort of thing that actually takes water will be the sago palm, which is going to get hit by this sprinkler right here. So that kind of takes care of that. I'm going to take a break and figure out the next part. And just like that, I'm back. That's the beauty of video. The break time doesn't count. So after looking at things, basically I think I'm in cleanup mode here because it's going to take me enough time to clean up, and like the bird of paradise that's on the sidewalk there, I need to get that stuck in a hole somewhere and get it watered so that I can protect it until I actually get to planting it somewhere or giving it away to somebody. I got to figure out what I'm going to do. So yeah, there's a lot of little things to consider, but I'm just realizing that I'm going to end up overdoing it if I try and do anything else new today. So I've just got to start cleaning up and protecting things. Let's get going. Phone overheated again, so I'm not sure where it left off, so let's just wrap up. I got 3 of them planted in here. That's kind of making it a bit crowded, and I'm gonna have to figure out what to do. But yeah, that takes care of the birds of paradise. And then I cleaned up over here, so now you can kind of get an idea what it's ultimately going to look like. I did forget I had a couple of little tiny little succulents that I'm going to ultimately plant in here as just a little bit of filler. I'll take care of that tomorrow, not a biggie, but you get the idea. So that's it for today. Let's see what tomorrow brings.